Set on the outskirts of Chicago, the story begins with a young man named Tommy, who has just moved from the big city to a rundown neighborhood with a high crime rate. Today is his very first day at a new school, but before he even makes it there, trouble finds him. A group of black gang members harass him, targeting him with open racism. In this area, black residents are the majority, and during the 1990s, racial tension in America was still extremely intense. The problems from that morning do not end there. Tommy soon realizes that he is in the same class as the very group that harassed him earlier. At first, he tries to stay patient, even after being forced to change seats 3 times. But by the third move, he finally snaps, and a fight nearly breaks out.
Wow, that's funny.
Just in time, a female teacher walks into the classroom and orders everyone back to their seats before things explode. The bullies back down, but not without warning Tommy that they will settle things during recess. As expected, the bullies confront him again during the break, this time bringing even more friends. Once again, Tommy narrowly avoids getting hurt when another gang steps in. Rival gangs are common at this school, and fights happen often. Right then and there, 2 gang leaders face off in front of other students, with one of them even pulling out a sharp weapon. The fight only lasts a few seconds before teachers rush in and break it up, and this is only the beginning. Welcome to Gladiator. As if school was not hard enough, Tommy faces even more problems when he gets home. He and his father had to move into this neighborhood because his father fell deep into gambling debt after Tommy's mother passed away. That same day, 2 armed debt collectors show up at their house. Thankfully, they do not hurt Tommy. Instead, they issue a clear threat, demanding that his father pay off his overdue debt, which has already been late for 2 weeks. That night, Tommy is awakened by his father coming home. Despite everything, his father is kind to him, asking about his first day at the new school. Tommy chooses to lie, saying everything went fine. His father senses that something is wrong and feels that Tommy is hiding the truth. Eventually, Tommy admits that debt collectors came to the house earlier that day, and the revelation clearly weighs heavily on his father. His father realizes that his mistakes have ruined their lives. Filled with regret, he promises Tommy that he will fix everything. He explains that he has found a high-paying job in another city, one that will allow him to pay off his debts and repair their financial situation. Tommy does not object to being left alone for a while, believing that he is old enough to handle it. Wanting to ease his father's burden, Tommy decides to take a job as a dishwasher at a local restaurant owned by a classmate's parents. But one night, the same school thugs walk into the restaurant and immediately decide to continue their unfinished business when they see Tommy working there. At first, Tommy tries to ignore their provocation. That changes when they shove him to the ground and laugh at him, mocking him with cruel expressions, pushing him past his breaking point. Tommy gets back on his feet and lashes out, taking down 2 of them. Just as he is about to finish off the third, an unfamiliar older man suddenly steps in and stops the fight. The man turns out to be Jack, a local boxing promoter. He says he likes the way Tommy fights and offers him a chance to compete in illegal underground matches, promising a payment of $600. Tommy immediately turns it down. Tommy makes it clear that he wants $1,250. Jack warns him that he could easily find someone else willing to fight for less. After a tense back and forth, Jack finally agrees to Tommy's demand. The deal is sealed with a handshake, witnessed by Dawn, the restaurant owner's daughter. The next night, Tommy is taken to an underground fight venue, where Jack introduces him to Noah. Noah will be his trainer and handler while he is there. One of Noah's first warnings is that these matches are like war. There is no fairness in the ring, and no one cares about rules, especially since Tommy will be facing a fighter known as Black Dead, a man infamous for fighting dirty. Unexpectedly, Tommy runs into his classmate Romano, who is shocked to hear that Tommy's first opponent will be Black Dead. Romano urges him to be especially careful of his opponent's right hand. Taking that advice to heart, Tommy steps into the ring. Every spectator places their bets on Black Dead, and the crowd erupts as he enters the arena. Noah's warning quickly proves true. From the very start, Black Dead fights dirty, driving an elbow into Tommy's head and drawing blood from his temple. He does not stop there, delivering a brutal blow to Tommy's groin. Even so, the referee ignores it all. In this underground ring, anything goes. As the fight drags on, Black Dead grows careless. That single mistake gives Tommy the opening he needs. He unleashes a relentless series of punches and knocks his opponent down. Against all expectations, Tommy wins his very first fight. The crowd, the bettors, and even the investors are stunned. Then, as Tommy raises his hand in victory, the entire place erupts in celebration. The following day, Tommy is summoned to meet Jack's boss, Mr. Horn, to receive his payment. Horn is impressed by what he saw and wants Tommy to fight for him again. Tommy refuses. He only wants the $1,250, nothing more and nothing less. Later that day, Tommy runs into Dawn. She does not hide her disappointment after learning that he chose to fight in the illegal matches. Still, she feels relieved when she finds out that he only plans to fight once and has no intention of becoming a full-time fighter. But that sense of relief does not last long. Everything changes when Jack asks Tommy to meet Mr. Horn again later that afternoon. At Horn's office, the truth finally comes out. The debt collectors who once showed up at Tommy's house were working for Horn all along. Even worse, Tommy's father has recently started gambling again, pushing his debt up to $15,000. Horn offers an easy solution. If Tommy fights for him in a few upcoming matches, the debt will be taken care of. Faced with no real alternative, Tommy accepts the deal to save his father. On his way home from the meeting, Tommy unexpectedly sees a classmate named Lincoln being attacked by gang members. He steps in to help, but they are badly outnumbered. With no other choice, Tommy and Lincoln run as the gang chases after them. Once they finally escape, the two start talking. Tommy learns that Lincoln is already married and has children, even though he is still very young. That is why Lincoln chose the dangerous path of illegal boxing, doing whatever it takes to support his family. Later that night, Tommy goes to watch Lincoln fight. At first, Lincoln struggles against a much larger opponent, clearly overwhelmed. But in a sudden turnaround, Lincoln manages to flip the situation and claim victory. By this point, Tommy can no longer ignore his curiosity about Horn. After watching Lincoln's fight, he visits Noah and asks about Horn's past. Noah reveals that Horn was once a professional boxer who even won the world heavyweight title. Even more impressive, he only lost once during his entire career, and in the rematch, he permanently injured his opponent. Eventually, even a legendary fighter had to step away. After suffering a serious leg injury and undergoing multiple surgeries, Horn recovered physically, but his prime was long gone. Too old to return to the ring, he chose a new path as a boxing promoter, a role that brought him wealth without risking his own body. A few days later, Dawn comes to Tommy's house while he is training. She is worried because he has not been going to school lately. Tommy finally opens up about the problems trapping his family and how he has been forced to fight again in the illegal ring. Dawn understands his situation, and the two grow closer. Life starts to feel better for Tommy after he becomes an underground fighter. Dawn stays by his side, and their bond slowly turns into a romantic relationship. At the same time, Tommy forms a strong friendship with Romano and Lincoln, spending their days training together, boxing, and enjoying the rare moments of happiness they can find. But one night, tragedy strikes Romano. He steps into the ring against a fighter named Shortcut, someone Romano is clearly superior to. From the start, Romano dominates the match with ease. However, when the fight reaches the fifth round, Shortcut turns to dirty tactics. He secretly drips a mysterious liquid onto his gloves. When the fight resumes, he locks Romano in a chokehold, forcing him to inhale whatever substance is on the gloves. The moment the hold is released, Romano's vision blurs, and he can no longer fight properly. Shortcut takes full advantage of this. He launches a brutal assault, beating Romano without mercy. Even as Romano begins to bleed, Shortcut refuses to stop, almost as if he enjoys torturing his opponent. Tommy watches everything unfold from ringside and cannot bear the horror any longer. Seeing that the referee has no intention of stopping the fight, Tommy runs to the bell and strikes it himself, forcing the match to end immediately. By then, Romano is already lying unconscious in the corner of the ring. When Tommy gets home later that night, he receives a phone call from his father, who acts strangely calm, as if nothing has happened. He simply asks how Tommy's doing and says that he has to delay coming home because there is still unfinished business to take care of. The next day, Tommy visits Romano at the hospital. Sadly, his friend is still unconscious. The doctors have declared that Romano is brain dead. Tommy cannot accept that the person responsible for this could walk away without consequences. His chance for revenge finally comes when he is matched against Shortcut in the ring. Once again, Shortcut tries to use his dirty tricks, but this time it fails. Tommy already knows exactly how Shortcut poisoned his gloves during Romano's fight. This time, Tommy fights just as dirty. He strikes Shortcut in the groin, dropping him in pain, then follows up with a relentless barrage of punches. The fight ends in the first round. with Tommy claiming victory. With Romano gone, Lincoln becomes the only close friend Tommy has left. Not long after, something goes wrong with Lincoln during training. His body suddenly weakens, and he collapses without warning. Doctors later determine that the cause is a severe blow to the head he took the previous week, which is now showing signs of brain damage. Lincoln is ordered to stay away from boxing for at least 60 days. If he does not, the damage could become permanent. But Horn has a different plan in mind for him. That night, Tommy grows confused when he sees that the opponent he is scheduled to face is fighting under a different name. He goes straight to Horn to find out what is going on, and that is when Horn reveals his plan. Tommy is meant to fight Lincoln. The idea immediately infuriates Tommy. Lincoln is not in any condition to fight, and more than anything, Tommy is terrified of losing another friend. But no matter what Tommy says, Lincoln refuses to back down. For him, this fight is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to prove himself to Horn, who has promised to move him into the professional ranks if he wins. Realizing that he cannot change Lincoln's mind, Tommy makes one last attempt to stop the match by pleading with Horn to cancel it. In the end, his efforts lead nowhere. Day by day, the moment finally arrives when Tommy and Lincoln are set to face each other in the ring. It becomes the biggest fight the underground boxing scene has ever seen. And this time, Dawn is forced to watch her boyfriend step into the most dangerous match of his life. From the start, the contrast between the two fighters is obvious. Lincoln comes in fired up and aggressive, while Tommy looks hesitant and restrained. As soon as the first round begins, Lincoln unleashes a non-stop barrage of attacks. Tommy, on the other hand, refuses to fight back. He does not throw a single punch even when Lincoln knocks him down. This behavior only fuels Lincoln's anger. If the fight continues like this, Horn will refuse to pay them, and he has no patience for boring matches. The crowd feels the same frustration. In the second round, Horn escalates things by threatening Dawn, making it clear that he can do whatever he wants if Tommy does not start fighting seriously. Still, no matter the pressure, Tommy cannot bring himself to strike Lincoln's head. One solid hit there could be fatal. To satisfy Horn in the audience, Tommy chooses a different approach. He focuses only on punching Lincoln's body throughout the fight. At the same time, he tries to make Lincoln understand that this fight is meaningless. Even if one of them dies, Horn would not care. Money is the only thing that matters to him. Lincoln responds to all of this by continuing to target Tommy's head. At that point, Tommy gives up trying to reason with him. If Lincoln truly wants the money from Horn, Tommy urges him to use all his strength and finish the fight properly. Then something unexpected happens. Lincoln finally understands what Tommy has been trying to say all along. This fight is wrong. They never should have agreed to it. Instead of continuing, Lincoln chooses to stop the match altogether. The crowd is disappointed. Horn is disappointed too, but more than anything, he is furious. Horn steps into the ring and demands that Lincoln finish the fight. Lincoln refuses. He makes it clear that he is done working for Horn. That decision pushes Horn over the edge. Without hesitation, Horn strikes Lincoln directly in the head, sending him flying out of the ring. At this moment, Tommy knows Horn has gone too far. Someone like him needs to be stopped. Tommy steps forward and challenges Horn to fight him right there. The terms are simple. If Tommy wins, Horn must erase his father's debt. If Horn wins, Tommy will work for him forever without pay. Horn agrees but adds one condition. They will fight without gloves. As a former world champion, Horn's experience gives him the early advantage. He toys with Tommy, mocking and humiliating him as the fight begins. But Horn's arrogance and uncontrolled emotions become his greatest weakness. Tommy may be young, but he is smart. He quickly studies Horn's movements and learns how to counter him. First, Tommy deliberately allows Horn to punch his head, causing one of Horn's fingers to break. Then he provokes Horn, just like Horn did to him earlier. Watching his reaction, Tommy realizes that anger is Horn's true weakness. Even that is not enough. So Tommy takes a bigger risk. He pretends that his right arm is broken, tricking Horn into lowering his guard. At the perfect moment, Tommy strikes. He lands a devastating punch to Horn's face, followed by 13 more blows, finally knocking him down. With Horn defeated, Tommy and his father are finally free from debt. The story ends with Tommy celebrating his victory alongside Lincoln and Dawn, closing a brutal chapter of their lives at last. So the moral of the story is, if life beats you up, just beat up the guy who organized the beating, preferably without gloves and with dramatic timing.